Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer. This video is about my 10 favourite books so far for 2025 from January to June. The 10 top books I've read for those 6 months. That's all this is. Let's get down to it now. The first book I want to talk about is Big Little Lies, written by Liane Moriarty. Now this book I think is wonderful, and this author has a knack of creating just people that aren't stereotypes, but they're so relatable. You can picture them, you know who they are, they're real people in these stories. That's what they feel like anyway. And these people, they just have ordinary lives, suburban lives. Of course, big things happen in these stories. They have to, it's fiction. But ordinary small things happen as well. That's what I like about these books, the way this author creates characters that just have small things happen and big things happen. It's a mixture. They have big events, sometimes shocking events, but they're real people with real feelings, real motivations. They just feel real in these stories. Now, on top of great characters in this book, we have a great structure, a great plot. It's very immersive. Now, it is a book where at the start of the story, we have an event. We're told about something that's quite shocking. Then we go back in time. I think in this book, it may be 3-4 months or so. We go back in time, and then we have that long lead up in the story that takes us on that journey to that point we're told about at the start of the book. Now, sometimes books like that structure, I don't enjoy. It depends on that journey because I think sometimes, what's the point? We know what's happened. We're told about that at the start of the story. What's the point of that sometimes? Because that lead up is getting it to a point in the book we already know about. Now, in this book, I didn't mind it because it's so well written. The structure is quite superb, actually. I think it comes down to those characters again. If those characters weren't like this in this book, I think this book would fail. Doesn't matter about the structure. The characters make the story. The characters and the writing style as well, I think, because the writing style is so free-flowing. It's just wonderful. You don't feel like you're reading a story. It's quite effortless. I really enjoy this book. Now, the second book is completely different. We have Dune, written by Frank Herbert. Sci-fi, space opera, sci-fi royalty, basically. Now, so many people already know what this story is about. You've read the book, you've seen movie, TV series or miniseries. So many people already know what this story is about. So I won't spend that much time talking about what the story is about. I'll just talk about different themes and things in this story, why I enjoy it. This book truly is that space opera, the space opera storyline. We have battles, we have intrigue, we have drama, we have great characters, we have epic moments, epic fight scenes, we have love interest as well. So all those things make a space opera what a space opera is, basically. We also have different themes going on that Frank Herbert put in this plot around ecology, around the environment, around colonization, around free people being forced to do things or work by these oppressive forces coming onto the planet. We have themes like that in this story as well. We have greed. We have this space guild that controls things, this spice. That goes down to, in history, we had, empires going to different parts of the world, to get spice, to get, commodities that were expensive, that were rare at the time, and control those. That's what's in this story as well. So many themes playing on in this book. I think it's also a curious blend between fantasy and sci-fi. We have great sci-fi elements, of course we do. We have spaceships, other planets, great weapons, all that sort of thing. But then we have fantasy, and the fantasy is primarily around a prophecy that follows Paul Atreides. Is he the chosen one or not the chosen one? That leads him down a path of, is his life predestined or does he have free choice? That plays along in the story as well and ties into a theme of religion, especially around the Bene Gesserit. So we have many things going on in this story, just intertwined with each other so tightly. It's just this really tight, really intricate mesh or net that plays along in this plot. And when I think about this book, I think about a few things. Think about those giant sandworms. They're so exciting and so gripping, sometimes chilling. I think about the Bene Gesserit, the Harkonnens. I think about the Freeman. I think about Paul Atreides and his prophecy. They're big things in this story, and they jump into my mind straight away when I think about this book. All those elements, those 5 elements I've mentioned, plus other things in this story, make this a true space opera and make this truly sci-fi royalty. Jennifer Government, written by Max Barry. It is sci-fi again, but different. It's based on Earth, a future Earth, not too far in the future. It's closely linked to Earth now, and it takes this idea of commerce and makes commerce to an extreme. So, in this story, we have rewards programs. You know, those programs where you have your credit or debit card, you make purchases, and you get points. But anyway, in this book, we have 2 companies, 2 big rewards programs, and they basically rule the world. Commerce rules the world. They're much stronger than governments, kind of mirrors what happens now anyway in the real world on our Earth, and mirrors that to the extreme in this book. It's full of satire. It's got a great story, very fast moving, fast paced, with great characters. The characters can be a little bit quirky here and there, and some can be stereotypical, but I think the characters are very well written for the world we're given in this story, and I think the world is so immersive. I felt like I was transported to this future Earth. I really did. I felt like I was in this world where this commerce, these big companies, rule the world. That's how immersive it is. And the title Jennifer Government refers to a character who is named Jennifer Government. And in this world we're given in this story, people's surname is basically where they work. So if you work for McDonald's, your name is whatever your name is, plus McDonald's is your surname. That goes on in this story a lot as part of the satire in this story. And Jennifer is tasked with tracking down these people who did something quite silly. They had this marketing scheme, this marketing scam going on, this big event they were planning. When it happens, it creates a criminal event. And Jennifer Government is tracking down those people, those culprits. That's the start of the big chase in this story. The chase just goes on and on and on. It jumped continents. We have great action scenes. We have travel. We have intrigue. We have suspense and thrilling moments in this story. We also have comedy and satire. So it's a great balance in this book of all those things. I really enjoyed this book. Okay, so moving to something different again, The Thin Executioner, written by Darren Shan. It's YA fantasy. I really enjoyed this. It's a great example of fantasy. It doesn't matter that it's YA. I think anybody could enjoy this book. And I think YA fantasy sometimes gets a bad rap. I think YA genres sometimes in general get a bad rap by some readers. I really do. But this book I think is just wonderful. It's fast-paced, it's got great action and adventure, great characters, it's got magic, it's got thrilling moments, it's got moments when you don't know what's going to happen next. It's got all those things in this book. The world building is wonderful. One of the best things about this book is the protagonist. The protagonist, his growth in this story is just out of this world. It's so good. His character is written so well. So basically in this book, this guy, I think he's about 15 or 16 in this book. And he's not as strong as his father or his brothers. And he wants to be. He wants to be strong. And he thinks he has to prove his strength. And he thinks to prove his strength, he has to go on this quest. And this quest is quite dangerous. Most people who go on this quest fail. And if you fail the quest, you die basically. And part of the quest, well, I won't tell you about the secret part of the quest. If you want to read the book, you'll find out. But because he needs to do something on this quest, he needs someone to go with him. And that's where this growth comes for this character from the other character who travels with him. And I like the way that happens in this story. There's just great action, fast-paced. I can really see people, young people, YA readers, reading this and really enjoying it because it's just so immersive, it's so fast-paced, it's gripping, it's thrilling, sometimes it's quite chilling. This doesn't hold back in this story either, even though it's YA. I think it is quite violent for YA. I think it's great things going on in this story. So shifting once more in genre, we have 84 Charing Cross Road, written by Helene Humph. It's a memoir basically, and in the version I had 2 books, 2 in 1. I had this book, the title book, plus another book it's a diary basically of her going to England many years after the first memoir. And it's the first memoir I want to talk about because that's the one I think it's most special. So that memoir is about this woman, Helene, and she lives in America. I think New York she lives in. And she wants to read things. She wants to read books that may be out of print, hard to find. And she finds by chance this advertisement from this bookstore in England. And that bookstore advertises they can find hard to find books. She writes to them with a list, says, I'm interested in these books. Can you find them? Can you help me? Here's some money to start. If you can find any of these, please send some across. And that starts this whole friendship basically between Helene Humph and people at this bookstore. Primarily one person, one employee, but it widens to all the employees and even their families. And this first memoir is basically letters between Helene and this bookstore. And it's wonderful. I like her voice in those letters. It's just a fantastic writing style. She can be quite abrasive a bit in the letters, but not cruel, not mean. Just her writing style doesn't kind of, she's got rough edges, I think, in her writing style in those letters. That's the best way to explain it. But that friendship develops over time. And you can see that in those letters. I don't think all the letters are there. I think there's gaps. But what you get in that memoir is just wonderful. I really enjoyed it. If you're interested in just, friendships by chance, just a chance letter going somewhere creates this lifelong friendship, read this story. I think it's truly wonderful. So shifting back to sci-fi again, one of my favorites so far is Annihilation, written by Jeff Vandermeer. It's the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, and I really enjoyed this. Of course I did. It's one of my favorite books. What am I saying? So, this book is so immersive. Again, very immersive story, very atmospheric. I like that we have this group of women going to this strange area called Area X. And when they're going, you don't know their names. We're not given their names. We're giving their professions. So we're given psychologist, biologist, that sort of thing. What they are, not who they are. And what it does, it creates these characters as expendable. And you wonder, will they survive or not? Because where they are in this strange area, anything could happen. It's Earth, basically, but different. It's been transformed. No one knows how or why. No one knows by who. It's just been transformed. And this group of women are on expedition after many more expeditions before them. They're going there to explore, basically. And we're told, I think, that when you go there, you can't spend too long there. Not everybody survives, not everybody comes back. And even if you do come back, maybe you won't live too long. So there's great risk going on by going there. But when you're there in this story, you're immersed with these women. You really feel like you experience what they experience, what they see, what they hear, what they're doing. It's so immersive and atmospheric, and it just makes for a great read. It is a trilogy. Now this, I think, is the best book in the trilogy. There is a fourth book written, I think, 2024, so not a trilogy after all, I think. It is the fourth book, but it is a great story. Read this. You don't have to read the other books in the trilogy if you read this, the story in itself. But if it leads you on, if it makes you want to read the rest of the books, I still say do it, because even though the other books in the series aren't as good as this book, they're still great reads. Again, something completely different. And I think going through this list of 10 books, I just realized I've read many different genres this year so far, and my favorite books are just spanning across so many of those genres. And this book I want to talk about now is Anne of Green Gables. I enjoyed this a lot. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did, but I loved it. And it all comes down to how Anne is written in this book. Of course, many people already know the story, they've seen a movie, a TV show, whatever, but this character, I think, in this book is written perfectly. She does have long monologues, and I think in real life, if you knew this character, Anne with an E, you'd get frustrated with her because she just keep talking and talking and talking and wouldn't stop. But in this book, it feels charming, actually. It feels like it's truly who Anne is. The author has just condensed this character in this story, and we get Anne with no apologies. And that's part of the story, I think, about being yourself. About being yourself and still being welcomed by other people. Being yourself and knowing who you are, and not changing, not apologizing, not trying to bend yourself to meet what everybody wants you to be, about being yourself against all odds basically in this story. That's one of the things in this book I think that stands out so much. But it's so much more than just this character Anne going to school and talking all the time. There's great heart in this story. There's other characters who are wonderful. There's growth for so many characters in this book, not just Anne. Every character I think in this story is written perfectly. I think the story arc in this book is wonderful. I like the way it all plays out. I like the setting. I like the scenery. I like all the events that happen in this story. I like this book so much. I think this is one book I could read again. I think in maybe 5-10 years time, I could go back to this story and read it again and enjoy it as much as I did the first time. And I do want to read the rest of the books in this series, and I hope I enjoy them as much as this one. Okay, let's change genres again to horror and talk about Let the Right One In, written by John Lindquist. It's a vampire horror unlike any other vampire horror I've read. And really, it doesn't feel like a horror when you read this. It feels more like a drama, more like a coming-of-age story maybe. There's a bit of thrilling things going on in the book as well, bit of action, bit of suspense, but it's more about this coming-of-age story for our two main characters, Oscar and Eli. And both these characters, they're trying to form this friendship. They're trying to forge this friendship and more in the story. It seems like against all odds. It feels like sometimes the whole world is against both of them. Both their lives are quite bleak, and they both kind of struggle to fit in to the life around them. You get that sense for both of them in the story, and for different reasons. I might go into all those reasons in this short description, but those two characters make this book what it is. And they're written so wonderfully in this book. Their struggle feels real. It really feels like this author just thought about different things and really thought about them quite deeply and put them in this story. About being bullied, about having, parents maybe who aren't as aware about you as they should be. About struggling just to find your way, about struggling to find friends and what that means, about struggling to find your identity, all that in this story and much more. And it feels like the author took all that and just wrote that perfectly in this story. There are very many dark moments in this book, quite a lot of them, and the author doesn't hold back. There are a few times in this book when I read it I felt quite uncomfortable what's happening, what's being described in the story. I wonder if you do, if you want to read this, or if you've read it, I wonder if you felt uncomfortable in certain parts in the story. But I think it's one of those books for those dark moments. Just make the world more alive, I guess, because you really see what the characters, Eli and Oscar, are going through, what they have to face, about the people who are surrounding them, the events surrounding them. So I think those moments really make those two characters shine even more in this book. Kind of had no idea what the story was about, so I hadn't really seen the movies or anything like that. I just read this for a monthly reading prompt and hope for the best. But it's a wonderful book. I'm glad I read it. So okay, we're almost there. 2 books to go. Another horror book, Something I Keep Upstairs, written by J.D. Barker. Now, if you're old enough to recall 90s teen horror movies, this book feels like that, only better. It's almost perfect. A great story. Now, what happens in this book is we have this teenage boy who inherits an island and a big house on this island from his grandmother. And this island has a secret. And we find out this boy's parents didn't let him go visit his grandmother. He went there, I think, only once, maybe twice, and never again. Because there's a reason for that. We find out later on in the book what it is. I won't tell you what it is here. But when you find out about all the secrets about this house and this island, it's just so immersive, so chilling, and very gripping. Now, this book also has a play on dimensions, has a play on time, has a play on time and space and reality right through this story. Another thing about this book is I like the way the horror is written. It's small town horror, which I love, but it's that type of small town horror where only a few characters know what's going on. The whole town doesn't. That adds to the atmosphere and the tension and suspense when you don't have everybody in the book who's mentioned knows about what's going on basically. Only a few characters do. And the characters themselves are written so well. They're perfect. They have things going on in the book as well in their lives, not tied into the horror at all. And I like that because it makes the world quite layered and makes the characters layered as well. They feel more real, and it creates different tensions, different interaction styles in those characters as well. So all that, I think, just creates this whole great world, great immersive environment for this book. The horror is done very well. The only small letdown in this book is towards the end. I think, towards the end, part of that didn't stick the landing, but I think other than that small part, the rest of the story is truly wonderful. The last book I want to mention is The Boy Who Killed Demons, written by Dave Seltzman. It's YA horror, and just like YA fantasy and other YA genres, I think sometimes YA horror gets a bad rap by some readers. I do. But I enjoyed this. I think this is so well done, and it comes down to how it's written, basically. There's great events in the story, of course, but I think the writing style, the narrative voice, is just perfect in the story. The narrative voice just feels like a real teenager. And of course, our narrator and main character is a teenage boy. And in this book, I love it because he has a normal life. I mean, he goes to school, he's got friends, he's got all those troubles that teenage boys have with school and friends and family, all those things. Then he has another side where he realizes he can see demons beneath human shells or human skin. And he's trying to just navigate both those worlds. And he's trying to do his best. He doesn't always do his best, I think, but he's trying to. And the troubles he comes across in the book, sometimes he makes them for himself, sometimes he feels like he's being hard done by his parents or his friends or his school, and that whole thing just adds to who this character is so well, I think, in the book. He's trying to navigate learning about demons. He's trying to find out what these demons are up to. He's sure they're up to something. He's trying to find that out and stop them. But he's also trying to be a normal teenage boy and just get along. And I just like that balance in this story. It's quite funny in parts, quite satirical. I think it's got great moments of horror and action, great thrills, great chills, suspense. It's got so many good things in this story. I really enjoyed this book a lot. Another book I think I could read in 5-10 years time and enjoy it then as much as I did the first time I read it. A great story, I recommend it. I like this book a lot. There you have my top 10 books so far for 2025. A mix of genres, YA fiction, adult fiction. A great mix, I think, for the year. And I had no idea when I made this list, before I made the list, that genre mix would be there. I didn't think it would be. I'm glad it is. On my channel, I read books from all different genres. Check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link on the video for a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.